Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on the show, we have another amazing guest. This is actually somebody I've been in the same room with many times. We've been in the same conferences, we've been in the same webinars, same seminars, and for some reason or another, we just haven't actually met face-to-face in person before. And that's actually pretty neat, interesting. So I couldn't wait to reach out to her, and I'm very happy to have her here, and I'm very excited to talk to her today. She is all the way from London, UK. She is an expert in unlocking your greatest asset, which is you. She is passionate about inspiring, equipping people to build businesses that are profitable and future fit. She is the CEO of Artemis Futures. She has a podcast called Building Brand You, and she is an international business leadership coach and speaker. So please welcome Ms. KYM HAMER.
Hello, thank you for having me on your show, Fong. I was so delighted to get your message and finally connect properly.
Yeah, for sure. I actually see a lot of photos of you with the people I know, and seeing you on stages speaking on kind of something. Hey, I was there too. So I was very excited to reach out and get to know a little bit more about what you do. So for people who actually don't know what you do, tell us more about what your specialty is. I know you're a specialist in branding and exposure and credibility stuff. So tell us what your passion is right now, and then a kind of story that leads up to where you are now.
Perfect. I love telling this story because it is actually the essence of building brand new. And it was something I had to do when I left corporate life and went into entrepreneur life. So my whole premise is that we have all of these assets. We already have them, but oftentimes we're not really sure what they are. And if we do know what they are, how to unlock them and then amplify them to help us build the brand and the business that we actually want for ourselves. So that was something I actually went through. And having watched lots of other people leave corporate life and have to navigate that pathway, I came up with a methodology, tested it out, and it's really about building, your own brand you. It's not about me coming along and saying, I think you should be this brand or I think you should be that brand. And it's more than just the external stuff. It's about who you are as a person and how we harness that and get that to show up in the best way possible to get you what you want. So I call it creating, for myself, it was creating the KYM-shaped box. So that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So for people who are trying to figure out who they are, and trying to figure out what their brand is, are there some quick steps that you could actually share for people to ask themselves or figure it out for themselves at a very high level, at least?
Yeah, of course. So one of the premises in the coaching I do is your brand is not just about visibility. And visibility is so much more than being seen. And there's all these other elements that we either ignore or are unaware of, and therefore we just don't pay attention to them or bring any intentionality to them. So visibility is often the easiest one. We think about how we look, how our logo looks, are we doing a podcast, all of those sorts of things. Are we being visible? But it's all about how you are being visible, not just your brand, but for example, how am I as KYM, as authentic KYM, showing up in my business for my clients, whether they're corporate or individuals. Then we look at other elements like influence and credibility and empathy, how you build connections. And one of the most powerful things you can do, and one of the most courageous things, I think, as well, is actually go to people around you and ask this question: what am I good at? And then stop and let them tell you. And at the end, all you're allowed to say is, thank you. No, oh, that's not really me. Oh, none of that false modesty coming into play, because that is how you show up for other people. And that exercise really early in my coaching practice with my clients really opens up. They get shocked and surprised about some of the things people actually know them for, actually see them as. You know, an example for me was I was about to start out as an entrepreneur, and a really, really good friend of mine who lives in Seattle in the US was sort of saying how great it was and all that sort of thing. And she said, look, you'll be great at that. You're so visionary. And I went, what? You know, it's not something I'd ever thought about myself. And a couple of weeks later, I happened to be talking to my mum, who knows this friend. And I said to her, she said something really weird. Like, she said I was visionary. Really? And mum said, just very calmly, but you are. You've always been farsighted and visionary about things. And it just knocked me for six, really. So that it's really powerful to ask that simple question, not a discussion. Don't explore what they say. Sometimes it might be really hard to hear. And I don't mean that they may come back with negative things. Sometimes it's just really difficult to accept that people see us like that. It sort of calls us to account, calls us to be visionary or disciplined or whatever other thing people think of you.
I think there's also that kind of mindset of living up to that expectation of being a visionary. So then you go, oh no, it's not me. And then kind of give yourself that little bumper. I also heard this story where somebody says, well, if you wake somebody up in the middle of the night at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then they go and ask them, what do you think about me? That is your brand. And then a couple came up to me and goes, yeah, I tried that with my wife. And the first thing she said was, are you clean? I'm like, that doesn't work very well.
I think there are different lenses as well. There's a lens we look at when we talk about credibility, and it's what's the first thing people say when they hear your name? What's the top of mind thing? So it might not be that you're visionary or all of those lovely things that you're good at. It might be that you're organized, you're grumpy, you're always late, you always make deadlines, you're reliable. So there's other exercises we look at to say those things are a part of your brand as well. You're absolutely right. That top of mindness is, that's the tick in the box the brain does when it gets used to you, when it says, okay, I recognize what's going on here. This is the person who will be late. So we need to make adjustments for that. Your brain has actually taken over that automatic reaction.
So how long did it take you to accept the fact that you're a visionary? Like for everybody to tell you is one thing, but it's another thing for you to finally accept that and go, yeah, I am. And then you could have that in your introductions, you could have that as your presentations and whatnot. How long and how did you make that adjustment in your mind?
I couldn't tell you specifically how long it was, because there was just a day I kind of went, oh, I get it now. Yeah, I am visionary. But what it took was when I started, I'd been talking to another friend who was talking about different mindset changes, and he talked about affirmations. And at that stage, I thought, it's all hooey. Like, who believes in that stuff anyway? I'm just so practical and pragmatic and all that sort of thing. Anyway, it just stuck with me. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this. And I wrote 5 I am statements and stuck them next to my mirror. And one of those was, I am visionary. And it was the one I found hardest to say every morning, but it's the one it almost like slipped under the radar. And then all of a sudden I went, oh, I am. Now, it did take a couple of months. I'm not saying it was a week or a month or anything like that, but like all things like this, all shifts, it starts out with small steps, small habits, and we just build the layers and build the layers.
One thing that lots of people don't really understand is the importance of branding. And because they're in a employee mindset, they go, I go to work, I work for another company. Why do I care about branding? Why do I care about my personal brand? So what do you tell these people about branding and why it's so important for them?
Oh, there's a number of things. I think in the current climate, when there's so much uncertainty, either people have been forced out of jobs and have to position themselves differently, or people have taken the leap and gone, actually working for a company is not for me. I quite like this working from home business. How can I adapt? So I think in this current climate, I have heard people talk about the importance of their personal brand more than I ever have. And I think that has unleashed this interest in what it all stands for. When I sort of started thinking about this 4 years ago, I thought, people get a bit weird about calling themselves a brand. You know, they kind of think it's my reputation. I'm not a brand. But I think branding was potentially about the Coca-Colas or the colors or stuff like that. When I talk to individuals and companies, it's about the heart of who you are. A brand is something that people count on, that they trust for something. Now, it might be a brand. I don't know whether all of your listeners know Ryanair. So it's a low-cost airline here in Ireland, but predominantly in Europe, flying there. And they have a dreadful reputation for service and all of those other things that airlines go for. But actually, what they're known for is cheap flights. They get you to your destination cheaply. And that's what they want to be known for. So when we're thinking about branding, it's not just about necessarily who we aspire to be, it's who we are prepared to deliver to the external world. And that's the other piece of branding, is that branding doesn't exist in our heads. Right. Branding exists in how others experience us. So it's about thinking, in my organization, in my job, how am I seen? How am I known? How do I show up? What am I interested in? Where do I want to take this? Do I want a bonus? Do I want a salary increase? Do I want a promotion? Do I want to go and work in another part of the organization? Do I want to retire? You know, everybody has their own sort of game plan, and thinking about all of those elements of who you are can really empower you and make sure that what you're doing is aligned with the environment and the opportunities around you.
Now, you mentioned about how things are a little bit different now because of the environment, because of COVID and shutdown, people working at home, people being laid off. Now, have you found that it's even more important that people pay more attention to how they organize or run their social media?
Yes, absolutely. Particularly if you're brand building, like that's the end of the question. No, I will say more. I think one of the things that being at home a lot has taught us all, it's made us all very human. You know, you see video calls. We had some instances here in the UK where newsreaders were broadcasting from home and someone's child ran into the room and the mother chased the child and tried to pull him out. And then the child didn't want to go. And all of us, I think, just went, oh, yeah, we can so relate. We're all human. We've all got homes and lives. And I think that has really made people more interested in who you are as a brand. Now, I'm not advocating that you necessarily show your home or all that sort of thing, but particularly in this little box, in this little Zoom room that we've all been operating in, or Teams, or whoever else you've been operating, thinking about how you show up. Are you recognizable when you show up? Even if it's casually, how do people remember you? What do they take away about you? What story? So people might say about this today, for example, oh, that light was shining in her glasses, or they might talk about the bridge behind you. Or so what we're looking for anytime we interact with somebody is like a sound bite. Not lots of information, but sound bites, little piece, little piece, little piece. And that just makes such an impact on other people. And then when your name or your face comes up or anything like that, they go, oh, she was the girl with the glasses, or he was the guy with the bridge in the background. He was the guy wearing the very nice striped pink tie. So, you know, it's about providing people with those little sound bites, but doing it consistently, frequently, and over time. It does take time to build that up, but it's small things, small things, small things, and we just build that up.
Okay, now, so people go, okay, now I need to watch my social media. I need to be persistent. I need to be consistent. Where do you draw the line between, because you mentioned this too, about being human, between authenticity and staying on brand? Yeah, because somebody could be authentic and go, oh, I want to share about this. I want to talk about my pets. I want to talk about my food, but it's off brand. So where do you draw the line, and how do you kind of maneuver around that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something I think, I've been in marketing my entire career, it's over 30 years. And so I do this quite naturally, thinking about that divide, because I think about, what do I want people to take away from me? What do I want people to think about me? So the authenticity comes not from pretending anything. It comes from thinking about what I do want, what is valuable to share, and what would I be prepared to share and not be perhaps embarrassed or caught out by in 5 years' time if someone came along and said, "Oh, what's this thing called YouTube? Oh, who's this?" Oh, what she said was rubbish or whatever. So there's that. The other thing too, I think, is a really valuable thing when you're sort of starting out on building your personal brand, and we've both got podcasts, is test it out. You can be sort of too dogmatic, I think, in the early stages. So building Brand You and the branding wasn't where I started in my business as an entrepreneur, not where I started with Artemis Futures. I was doing business coaching, I was doing marketing services, and it just kind of evolved as I looked at the landscape. I thought about the process of what I had done, and I started to test out, I wonder how I could speak a language that resonates with people about my journey and who I am. So it's not about the warts and all. Off camera, I might tell you a bit more, but I'm a coach as well. I'm not here to share with my clients my life story. I can share with you how I did things and why I'm successful and all of that sort of thing. But actually, my private life is mine, and what I choose to share, I need to be responsible for and own. I think that's the key thing, not just kind of put it out there, but are you willing to be responsible for the consequences of what you put out there?
No, the other hurdle that a lot of people have is the line between bragging and and showing off their brand.
Yeah.
Right. And then also like pushing away family members and friends who go, "Hey, this is not the type of person I want to follow, but then you're my family," and they're trying to navigate the bragging and navigate the authenticity. Is it the same kind of thing that you use to kind of navigate all of them, or is it different for each one?
So that is, I laugh because I live in London. I've lived here for 18 years, but I'm from Australia, and we have something in Australia called the tall poppy syndrome. And if you Google about it, you can read it. But actually, it means that every time you stick your head up like a poppy that's grown too much, it gets cut off. So you learn very early to keep your head down. But there's particularly, and I don't mean to generalize, but I think women are taught it's unfeminine to brag. It's unseemly. And I see it a little more, the bragging and the success in men, but I think there's probably a big gap there too. But particularly for women, getting us to own what we're good at and to talk about it. And it's the other thing. You have to build the muscle. If you're not used to talking about what you've achieved and your success, and perhaps for me, the more important thing is how it can help others. And maybe they find something in my sharing or my story that resonates for them, that pushes a button that goes, I'm going to try that, or they want to come and work with me on something. It's practice. All of this, there's method behind it, but someone once said perfect practice makes perfect, and actually it's perfect practice that we want to focus on. So that might be such a small thing every day, like standing in front of my mirror and saying, I am visionary, for every day for 2 or 3 months before I went, I actually am. I took up writing a gratitude journal, 4 years ago now, and I thought it would last a month, and I'm still doing it 4 years later. I think the other thing you talked about the friends and family piece. So I am incredibly blessed that I have a supportive family who believe in me, who are proud of me, who I am deeply, deeply connected with. But I understand that's not everybody's circumstance. What I would always say is that you're right, we can't choose our family, but we can choose who we surround ourselves with. And what I always say is that choose the surroundings that challenge you, that nourish you, that don't deplete you, that you want to be, inspired or pulled forward, or, challenge is great. You want people around you that help you grow. And I mean, Fong, you and I at the events and the coaching that we do, that's a big part of it. We go to the events and get inspired, and we think about things. We think, oh, how have I grown? What have I done? What am I going to do next? And we're in an environment where that's a language that is very common, but we can sometimes forget that it's not common in other circles. So that's also one of the things I talk about a lot, whether it's clients or just in speaking, is that go and find yourself some circles of people, particularly moving from corporate to entrepreneur, because that was a huge step for me. I was very well networked in corporate, and all of a sudden I was out in entrepreneur land, and I went, okay, they're all very nice and supportive, but not terribly useful right now. So, I needed to learn new things. I needed to look at things through a different lens. And so what I looked at was surrounding myself with people who were both doing the thing that I was doing at the same pace, but also looked for people who'd done what I wanted to do. And you are the sum of the people you hang around with,
Right.
I think. Yeah. And I think they're the two pieces. And I appreciate that it can be a struggle when your family perhaps doesn't support you, or pays a bit of lip service to what you're trying to do, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're in a career or a job. You don't have to say, well, I'm off, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, but go and balance that out with people that do nourish and support you and challenge you and can help you get to where you want to go.
You talked about your challenges being incorporated into entrepreneurship, and I just want to dive into that a little bit more, because I know a lot of people who are sick and tired of their jobs, but they really can't find a way out. And you made that transition. What are some of the biggest challenges or surprises that you experienced during that transition?
Well, I've already spoken about one, the network, that all of a sudden I realized that I had been very comfortably networking in my career for 28 years. And then all of a sudden, I felt like I had no network, no useful network to lean on. So that was a big challenge for me, because I am known as a connector and a networker. So that was a big challenge for me. Even though I might have had the tools to go and build the networks, I kind of thought, oh, do I have to do this all over again? Really? And I know networking can sound like a dirty word, but just think about it as having fun conversations with interesting people. And if something comes out of it, that's great. That's how I think about it now. I think the other thing, and I think this will be a very common feeling for a lot of people, is I was scared of losing that certainty of a salary every month. And when we're in jobs or being paid by other people, I was actually speaking about this today with someone, and I said, we are never taught, I don't think, in society, our own value in terms of money. And the first few times I went out to actually pitch, and they were such small workshops and projects, like £500, I thought I was going to throw up before I went out and did it, because I just, I pitched to boards and gotten, had millions and millions of pounds to play with. And I thought, this is ridiculous. How can you be so afraid? But again, it's about the small steps. So I remember having a friend with me when I did my first pitch in a workshop group to sell them onto another course. And they walked out, and some of them picked up the course and all that sort of thing. And she came up to me at the end, and she just threw her arms around me and said, you did it. You did it. You broke the barrier. You actually did it. And she was right. There's something about just doing it the first time that says, oh yeah, I can do this. It might not have been very comfortable or very smooth, but I can do this. So that's the second thing. And I think the third thing that was the struggle, I think, for me as a marketer was finding my niche. And I went out as a business coach. That's how I started my business. And because I have broad business experience, I've done business turnarounds and all of that sort of thing. But people don't really know the specifics of a business coach, and everybody wants different things from a business coach. And I was just struggling with, what's the USP here? What is that? And it's not to say that all of that goes away when you find your niche, but actually what the niche allows you to do is start where you play best. You know, I had a personal story. I had succeeded in moving from corporate to entrepreneur life. I'd implemented some of the marketing and branding principles to do that. I had to learn a lot of other things, and that also helps me in my coaching practice. When people are unsure, I can share examples or tools that I used to actually help me get past those, or actually help me to win as well. So I think they're the three things. So there was the corporate salary, the network, and then the what's my niche? How am I special?
Awesome. You mentioned a few things there that I really want to know a little bit more of. Number one, you talked about the networking thing and how you kind of changed the word of networking to having interesting conversations. What would you say are some of the key elements of like useful networking? People don't stay away from it a lot because they're afraid of it or they don't want to reach out. But what would you say for people who are shy, who are introverts, about attacking the word networking and going out there?
Yeah. Oh, attacking. They might be reeling back right now. So I think, it is hard to come from the place of being shy, introverted, uncertain, particularly if you're pushing into new communities and new circles where you think, I have nothing in common with these people. They're going to think I'm stupid, or I don't know what I'm doing. They're all so much more successful than me. I mean, we all suffer from that moment where we go, what am I doing in a room with all these successful people? You know, there's always a moment that goes through our heads, isn't it? And I had to remind myself that, one, they were people. Two, they were people who'd probably been in the same situation as me, even though they looked successful and powerful. And three, I flipped it around and just thought, oh, wow, who could I have an interesting conversation with? And that's the thing. Instead of looking at it and going, right, I must go, and there'll be a little bit of that, think, wow, what kind of interesting conversations will I have? And there are a couple of rules, I guess, for want of a better word. So the first thing is, if you're in a in a circumstance where you walk into the room and there's a lot of people already there, look for open groups. So when people are not just standing in a circle with their back to you, if they're more open, it's easier physically to catch their attention, just stand and sort of say, do you mind if I join you? You know, and
Ooh,
people are unlikely
to...
Oh,
that's so scary to have to walk into.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you know, find someone with a friendly face. I know sometimes they don't look very friendly, but maybe, you don't know, maybe those two people in the corner that are having this intense conversation are dying for the opportunity for someone else to come in and talk about something else. So, you know, there are all sorts of scenarios. The other thing is, you don't have to have a long conversation. If it's interesting, say, I would love to catch up with you and talk about this some more. Would you be up for having a coffee? And then you make a connection, and then it's a bit more on your terms. You know, you're meeting someone for coffee, particularly if you're a bit introverted and you don't like the crowds. That's quite a good one. I did that a lot when I first came out of corporate life. Actually, I did a lot in corporate life, to be fair. And the third thing is, remember that a conversation is an exchange. So when you when you introduce yourself, you know, yes, obviously say your name and like 15, 20 words about what you do.
Mhm.
And what I tend to do is then, so I'll might say, I'm Kim Hamer. I help people accelerate their greatest asset, themselves. I build brand you. What do you do?
Mhm.
Don't just wait at the end and go, I build brand you. Like, you want to invite people to have a conversation with you, and start in then going at the end. So what do you do? Or what brought you here tonight? Or, how far did you have to come? Did you come straight from work? I'm a big fan of, if I like a tie or a jacket or a outfit or something, I will comment on it. But then I'm quite forward like that. I will stop people in the street with a great pair of shoes and go, I love those, and then keep walking. So remember how good it feels when someone compliments you.
Mhm.
If there's something to compliment, don't do it dishonestly. But I don't know, if they're wearing this, I don't know, fabulous red tie or something, go, loving the tie, that sort of thing. So you can practice just small things. There might be a few notes in there for people to take on, but don't try them all at once. Can I just tell you that? You'll go into the room and go, I don't know what to say. But it might be that simple thing of going up to a group, introducing yourself and say, I'd love to know more about what you do.
Mhm.
Like, it's about playing table tennis. I don't know, ping
Yeah.
pong, some people might call it. It is an exchange. Make it an exchange. Make it a conversation. Don't make it a blah, all about you. Sometimes you will find yourself with people who do that. Yes, I think we've all probably done it, but we've all been with people who do that as well. So one of the things I learned early on is, so at the start, I used to go to the toilet a lot. I'd go and get myself a drink and go on to other people. But what I've learned to do is say, I'll sort of keep an eye out nearby, and I'll kind of go, shall we look around and join a group and see if we can meet some other people?
Mhm.
And if they're on their own and they've kind of gravitated towards you and gone, oh, thank goodness someone's talking to me, you taking them to another group means you widen the conversation, you meet more people, and they're probably so grateful to you for garnering the introduction. And again, you just walk up to what looks like a friendly group and say, would you mind if we joined you? People, it's very rare. If people are at a networking event, they won't say no.
Right.
And if they are having a conversation where you're not welcome, maybe they should be doing it in the other room.
And that's actually very important, because lots of people are afraid of that no. But in that environment, it's usually, yeah, come on, come join us and let's get to know each other, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, no, I think there's something inside all of us. That's why, pitching my product, pitching my value at the start, it was like, if they say no, what does it mean? Yeah. Does it mean I'm rubbish? Does it means I have nothing to offer? I have, it's stories we make up. No is no.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, you brought up the whole pitching thing again, and previously you talked about you've done this many times for your corporate job, right? You talked to many people, and then for some reason that whole mindset changed when you have to pitch about yourself. Yeah. So why is it so difficult for people to talk about their own stuff versus talking about somebody else's stuff, promoting their own stuff versus promoting somebody else's stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I don't think I have a cut and dried answer for that. But I think as I grew and understood more about what I wanted, so one, there was it was my job and I got paid a salary. In corporate, that was my job. I got paid a salary at the end of the month. Whether I pitched well or not was not going to affect in the short term the fact I got a salary at the end of the month. So the first thing is that when we're pitching, in the back of our mind is that sometimes when you're a new entrepreneur is, okay, if I don't get this, can I pay my bills? If I don't get this, what does it mean if it doesn't go on the business book? So we make it mean stuff, when actually all the pitch is you are putting what you've got out there and seeing if people are interested. And if they're not interested, the exploration is more about, okay, so there is a what could I have done better? Yes, absolutely. But, talk to your circle, talk to people who you think are great at pitching or who are successful in getting business in the kind of area that you are. And, you can learn a lot. I'm a big believer in we all grow the pie. You know, it's not about competition for me. It's that if someone's doing it better, for example, and I get a bit twitchy, what I think is that, well, that's a worthy rival and I can learn something from that. And, you know, it's about getting, again, I go back to this practice thing. It's about, you are building a new habit. If you've never stood in front of people and pitched your monetary value before, it can be terrifying, and it can be terrifying and heartbreaking if people say no. And then if people say yes, all of a sudden you go, great, oh, now I've got to deliver. Now what am I going to do? Am I going to be worth it? Am I going to get the value? You know, all of those sorts of things. So we are just, you know, the little chimp in our mind goes off all the time about how we are perceived. But for me, it was, I just need to practice. I need to practice talking about what I do. And I must admit, when I landed on building brand new, and that core at its purpose about unlocking your greatest asset, you, and it's about getting, you know, accelerating the result, whether it's a personal one. Mostly I coach in business, but some people come with some personal goals that personal branding can help them with. They might want to help their community. They might want to just amplify their voice in a certain area. So there's lots of reasons people want to show up as their best. If we think about, that's what a brand is. You want to show up at your best for the people that matter to you. So it is all about, yes, visibility and influence and credibility and connection and empathy. But, you know, it is about just practicing stuff, practicing standing in front of the mirror and saying, one of the other ones, this is a good one if you doubt yourself at pitching, I am a money maker. So I am visionary, I am a money maker. With a 2, I looked in the mirror and went, you are so not. Like, that was where I started. So, you know, sometimes those small things can really help you, because it's about the way you talk to yourself. And having other people around you can break that pattern. But in the end, you know, when you're on your own and looking in the mirror, it's that self-talk that undermines you. So if you can bring that self-talk to the forefront and notice it, rather than have it take control before you even know it, you know, that's a great tool. And then you just practice. You're going to go, oh, there I went again, undermining that in myself. Just notice and then go, okay, what are the small things I can do to sort of either stop that or undermine that conversation I'm having? You know, is it I want to go and have a friend call me to account, or I want to do affirmations, or what does a visionary person do? They're usually far thinking and they plan far ahead. So is there something I can do?
Yep.
And actually the planning side of things is what I'm known for by people who are very close to me, who know how I work my business and how I plan. So it's really interesting how I've manifested, you know, from people telling me I was visionary to thinking I am visionary to actually being visionary.
It's actually pretty powerful stuff, being able to have that self-talk on a consistent basis. And what I found is eventually what you find is you start catching yourself at moments right before you take that action, or right before you say something. Oh, wait a minute, I can't say it that way, I have to say it this way. Oh, wait a minute, I can't think it this way, I have to think it this way. And it all goes to affirmations, practicing that talk and all kind of stuff. So that's something that everybody really needs to think about if you want to change that mindset. You work with a lot of companies and you help a lot of business owners. What would you say is some of the most common challenges or struggles that they have when they come find you, that they may or may not even know when they come find you?
So I think one of the biggest ones, and it's a place where I start. So the first 3 parts of the 12 module coaching that I do, building brand new, is around discovery. And it's about taking a whole view of you, not just I want this business and I want this result and all that sort of thing. What we do is step back and explore all the things that make you you, because it's an easier, not easy, I'd like to say. So it's an easier path if you if you leverage what you're good at, what you enjoy, setting yourself apart and wanting to grow can be very hard, can be very challenging. And to do it without some sort of confidence and passion, I guess, is really difficult. So one of the first things I explore, doesn't matter whether it's a careerist, a corporate leader, a small business owner, a multi-millionaire, it doesn't matter. The first thing we talk about is those things, and then we leverage that into, okay, so what's your goal for the rest of this program? We're going to create that together, and it can be anything that you want. So we brainstorm that, and then we choose a focus for the program. That's the other thing. I think the two things is the background, and then there's the actual ability to focus. And maybe that's a reflection of me, because when I first started out, it felt like I was focused, but I am by nature a bit of a magpie. I like all the shiny objects. I get attracted by all the opportunities. And having been through a few iterations and kind of gone, actually, what works best is when you stay in your lane and go hard at the thing you need to go hard at. Just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And that doesn't sound very sexy or exciting. But what we do over the course of the program and a lot of the client coaching that I do is we talk about how your business aspirations fit with your life aspirations. So one of the reasons for me about becoming an entrepreneur and moving out of corporate life was that I don't want to just go and spend 3 weeks with my family at Christmas in Australia. I want to be able to spend more time with my family, more time with the people who really matter to me. And it's not necessarily about work and holiday. I'm currently discussing with my family in Australia when I'll come out, when all the rules relax and all of that sort of thing. But I'll come out for maybe 6 to 8 weeks, and I'll base myself somewhere. I'll do some work, but I'll go up and see my dad and my stepmom, spend a week with them. I'll be around them for a period of time, and you just never know what opportunities will come up. So it's thinking about what purpose, for example, does your business or your job or your career serve? Where is this going? And often that unlocks some of that, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? Who wants to wait until they retire to do what they enjoy? That's a very broad statement. Maybe people do, but I don't.
That's very, very true. And that usually is one of the struggles that lots of people have who are trying to find that way, but don't know how to get there. And they don't have the people around them that supports them to find a new way because people are bringing them back. Now, you spend a lot of time with people that are very influential, very motivating, but very inspirational and all that kind of stuff. What would you say is some of the best advice that you've gotten personally?
Particularly from a marketing point of view, one of my coaches keeps saying to me, stay out of the weeds. Now, when you first start your business, you're it. You've got to do everything. Like there is no one else. But I'm 3 years in. I have a team of 3, a virtual team of 3, and I'm looking at expanding, some other areas. And I was talking to him recently, and again, he said to me, stay out of the weeds, don't get into the detail, let other people do that for you. And for me, as a not super detailed person, I just admit that, put that out there. It's just great advice because, when you've had, 18 months, 2 years of having to do everything yourself and thinking, oh, I have to know this. And particularly when it comes to marketing, when I think I should know it, that stay out of the weeds has meant I've started to build my business so that I don't have to be here all the time. I can go away and work for a month somewhere else, and my team will keep my business going. I'm not quite at them doing business development and sales yet, but they will keep my business going. And that was a big, big lesson because, I can't scale unless I stay out of the weeds, as we said. So I think that's been the biggest piece of advice.
Well, one thing that you've created by staying out of the weeds is your podcast. and you're able to spread more content and be more exposed and all that kind of stuff. Tell us more about your podcast and how did you come about it?
Yeah, so building Brand You came about because I had the opportunity to put a podcast on a platform called Millionaire Flicks, which I know you're very aware of. I believe you're on the same platform. We're just in the same circles, I think we should just say. We turn up everywhere. And I tried it out. I wasn't sure that a podcast was for me, but this opportunity came up. It was really good value. And I thought, look, you know, everybody seems to be doing this thing. Why don't I just try it out? See if I've got something to say. I don't want to be just another marketing podcast. How do I have a different point of view? How can I, you know, so I spent the first season doing them all on video and testing out what people liked, how I felt interviewing people versus doing content on my own. One of the things that I was always a fan of was shorter episodes. So a lot of podcasts do interviews all the time, but the interviews are quite long. And sometimes I just went, you know what? Sometimes I just want 15 minutes of something to fill a gap between tasks, or, you know, to give my mind a break from the, you know, from the invoicing into something else. So that was something I was really clear on that I wanted to do, but everything else was just playing in the first season. And in fact, if you go back and look at the first season, you know, there was no intros, no intro music, like it you know, I was just playing. But I love having that out there because it demonstrates to me that if you don't try stuff out, you know, you never know. I might have done that first season and gone, this is too hard. I can't think of anything to say. I can't find any guests. But as it turned out, I decided to do a second season. I hired my first virtual assistant, and I had decided to go live on all of the big platforms like Apple and Spotify. And previously I'd just been on YouTube and Millionaire Flicks. And I thought, right, I'm going to do this properly and see where this goes. So I did 15 episodes for season 2, and we've just finished season 3 today. Actually, was the last episode. Yes, today. But they have 16 episodes each. So 5 of those episodes are guest episodes, and they have to be guests that have a skill or a process that the listeners can take away and do something with straight away. So while I get them to tell their story, what we come down to in the end is, so how do people implement this in their life? And the other thing I'm really careful on with guests is I don't have 3 guests on storytelling. So I choose each season, what are the topics I'm really interested in covering. I have a list of them. Sometimes they don't all end up in episodes. I come across other people, like bumping into Dr. Alan Barnard, who was on episode 15 recently. You know Alan. But we were just chatting when we caught up, and he started to talk about how he's been developing apps in his business and how difficult it was and all that sort of thing. We got quite animated about the whole thing, and I went, this would be a great conversation on the podcast because everybody talks about building an app. And yes, I'm going to build an app. I'd love, and I just said, will you come on and like talk about that? And as it turns out, we talked a bit about that, but we got right into the science of decision making. He's a decision scientist. And we had a great time on it. But sometimes it's organic like that, and sometimes it's planned. I'll reach out to people. And then all of the other episodes are 15 minutes or less. The last episode's always a wrap up of all the episodes. So if you wanted to find out which episode you wanted to listen to, you could listen to the last episode and then find it. But all the others are short, sharp, and they're meant to be either skill-based or mindset-based. So an idea that you can take away and implement today. So that's my perspective on, and it's always about how do you build brand you. So that it just, season 2 came about, and I started to really get into the swing of it, and I went, oh, this is great. And we had a great launch. So we've charted so far in 17 countries. We've had 4 number ones. it's just been extraordinary. Some of the feedback's been amazing. The guests have been amazing. I feel like I found, a vehicle that really works for me. And Ernie, my virtual assistant, I get to do all the fun talking stuff, and she does everything else.
That is absolutely awesome.
That's the value of that whole delegating and working with other people, is that I get to do what I'm great at, to create, to connect, to create all this great content and push it out there. And, I'd thought about over the pandemic writing a book, and I started, and it was just, I don't know, it didn't flow. I wasn't sure what I was trying to say. And actually, when I landed on the podcast, I went, this is it. This is the thing I'm going to build in 2021. So
awesome. Yeah. I love how you first approached it thinking, oh, this might not be for me. I'm just going to test it. I'll just put it out there. And then surely you kind of build it up to the point where it's number one. And when you're talking about it, you have this glow about you. You're so passionate about it. And so many people are thinking, you know what, if I have to do something, it has to start off perfect. And that's just not the way to go, because you're going to stop yourself from even starting. So I absolutely loved your story on how you started, and congrats to all the achievements you've gotten with that. And it sounds like you found your calling.
Yes, I do get asked a lot. A lot of people say you're a great interviewer, and I have had people say, oh, do you want to go and, I don't know, do that on TV? And I went, no, not really. I'd rather just do it for my business. Thank you very much. But it's really interesting. The whole point of having guests, a bit like we've been talking today, is this is a conversation. While we might call it an interview, actually, I like conversations, and I might have a list of questions that I want to cover from some of the research I've done, or some of the things I think listeners would find interesting. But actually, if something comes up in the conversation, Alan said something, and I can't remember quite what it was, but I went, so why do we find that so hard? And I didn't have that on my notes or anything like that. It was just organic in the conversation, and being curious and allowing the space for people to, bring their ideas forth and be a space of listening for them. Yeah.
Awesome. If you were given the world stage and podcast stage, and everybody's listening to you all over the world, and they're waiting for that one gold nugget of a message from Kim, what would that message be?
You actually already have everything you need. You just need to learn how to unlock it.
Very on brand.
Yeah, of course. But it's a belief as well. We talked right at the start about being authentic, and that is what I believe. I believe we all have everything we need, whether it's the ability to find something, to learn something, or to, we just talked about trying the podcast. I had a laptop and I can speak. That's really all I needed.
Yeah.
But you're right. We're so busy waiting for things to be perfect that we forget, just unlock it, put it out there and try it on. You can take it off like a jumper. If it doesn't fit, or if you like it for a while, then it gets a bit boring, stop.
Exactly.
Take it off.
Awesome. I know you're very busy. You got 5 quick questions for you, rapid fire. Give me the first thing that comes to mind.
You didn't tell me about these.
Number 1, you're stranded on a desert island. You get one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence.
Crunchy peanut butter.
Awesome. Hollywood calls and says, you know what, Kim, we want to do a biopic on you. Who would you cast to play your best friend?
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock calls and goes, hey, I got the part, but I need to know more about you first so I could play that part well. She shows up and she goes, oh, I forgot to get dinner. And you go, no problem. I'll make dinner. What's that special dish that you can make?
Oh, risotto.
Risotto.
Nice. I make a mean risotto, and I can mix up the flavors. You can have prawn and zucchini, or courgette. I'm not quite sure who's listening here and who will know what I mean. Yeah, risotto.
Monopoly calls and go, wow.
Monopoly.
And Monopoly calls and goes, wow, you're getting up there. There's movies about you and all this. We want to make a Kinopoly. Okay, but you need to choose 5 playing pieces that goes for the people to use as a token to walk around.
Oh, wow.
So what would be those 5 items be that would represent you on this game?
Oh, I think a pair of glasses has to be first, right? Oh, I don't know. A shoe. I think a shoe. An aeroplane for travel.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like I don't know, 2 people hugging or something for family.
Mm-hmm.
Really connected with family and friends. And that's 4, isn't it? So I've got 5. I've got a jar of Vegemite.
Wow, you took me by surprise. I thought for sure you'll say a microphone, but that didn't even make the list. Awesome.
No.
And my last question is, what is success like? Before that, give me a number between 1 to 4.
1.
Number 1. So how is success like cookies?
Oh, it's all sorts. Everybody has a different flavor and type of success they're chasing, but it's all about, are you ready for this? Finding out the right ingredients to make it the one you want.
That's the secret sauce right there. Awesome. Thank you very much. That is how success is like cookies. Any last words that you would like to share?
I think that the last thing I'd like to say, and we've talked about it quite a bit over the conversation, is just try stuff. Just try stuff. Don't wait. You know, you will learn more about it being messy and new and sometimes embarrassing. But just, Tom Peters has a great saying, whoever tries the most stuff wins. Mm-hmm. And just go out and try stuff on.
Awesome. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way?
The best way actually is to Google me. I am one of these fortunate people that has a name that is unusual spelling. So if you put KYM HAMER into Google, I'll come up all over the place. And then you can choose whatever platform you want to find me on. We've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, obviously the podcast. You look for Building Brand You on iTunes or Spotify. And, you know, we also have a Facebook group that if people are interested in sort of learning more of the behind the scenes stuff around building brand you and special offers and stuff like that, then they can join that on Facebook. But Kim Hamer, Google me, and you'll find where I am.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you very much for your time. Everybody else out there, make sure you get in touch with Kim here. Check out her podcast, great stuff. And thank you very much. I had a great time knowing more about you and also getting some great tips from you as well.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity, Fong. I'm so pleased we finally connected.
And next time when we're at the same place, I'm going to have to come and say hi for sure.
Definitely. We might even have a conversation, have a coffee together or something like that. That'd be amazing.
Sounds awesome. Thank you very much. And for everybody else, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. She is Kim. My name is Fong. We'll see you later.